Hey, if you listen to this podcast, I think you will also love my newsletter, Elevator Gazette. I talk a lot about elevating your professional and your personal lives. Make sure to subscribe to my newsletter. Go to anushakanan.com/email list, and I'm sure you will love it. Join everyone who is like-minded. And now let's get into the episode. Hey, before we dive into this week's episode, if you've been enjoying the show, I'd love your support. Take just 10 seconds to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps others discover the wisdom and inspiration that I share on the Pivot to Balance podcast. Let's build a community of balance seekers together. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to share the love. Now let's dive into the episode. Hello and welcome to the Pivot to Balance podcast. I'm your host, AK, and I hope you're doing well. In a world that pulls us in a million different directions and with a billion distractions, finding balance can feel like an ambiguous quest. Join me on this podcast as I try to navigate life's twists and turns with mindfulness, purpose, and grace. In each episode, we will dive into topics like self-care, personal growth, mindset shifts by sharing practical insights, stories, and maybe even interviews. Get ready to pivot, to recalibrate, and find your balance. Follow the Pivot to Balance podcast, and I will see you on the other side. Welcome back to today's episode. We are diving straight into it by asking a question that's probably crossed your mind, even if you didn't phrase this quite this way, but this has been on my mind for some time now. The question is, what are we running towards? What exactly are we hustling, bustling, stressing ourselves out for? We live in a world where we're constantly told that success is just around the corner. If we follow the right steps, if we hit this goal or reach that milestone, then we'll be seen, then we'll be successful, everyone will know our name. But I've been thinking about this a lot. For me, when I think about setting goals, when I think about where do I want my life to end, and I started thinking like just the overthinker arc or whatever you want to call it, just that journey that I went on. And the reality is the most famous person on earth, the most revolutionary inventor, the founder of some global movement, or the wealthiest person you can think of, there are still people who have no idea who these people are. Just think about that for a second. Even those who have made history aren't universally known. And you know what? The richest person today could wake up tomorrow and no longer hold that title, which goes to tell you success is temporary. Wealth, fame, recognition, they're all fleeting, just passing clouds. Even when you make history, people won't think about you every single day because most of them are focused on their own lives. So why are we running so hard? Why do we sacrifice what truly matters for these external markers of success? Because if we don't stop and reflect, I think we might end up at a destination or this place in our lives where we just never really wanted to be there. I hear a lot of successful people say that I really thought this would make me happy and it didn't. That's because that's probably not what you wanted. It's just what you think or what you thought you wanted. How do we actually stop running towards things that we don't need and start focusing on what truly matters to us? I've been thinking about doing this. I haven't exactly implemented this. So if you want to try this out with me, by all means. The first one I was sort of thinking about was taking inventory of my daily efforts. So instead of focusing on big goals or the end result, break down what you're doing on a daily basis. Think about where your energy goes each day. So are you spending time on tasks that get you closer to what actually fulfills you? Or are you doing things just because they look good on paper or because someone else said you should? So maybe try this. At the end of the day, reflect on things you accomplished according to you. Not just like, I did laundry or I did that. No, what made you feel good? The things that energized you versus the things that drained you. Then ask yourself, are these actions building the life I want? The second thing is something that I didn't test this out for too long, but I did this for about a week. I completely just got rid of Instagram. And I just found out that I was just getting so much caught up with what others are doing. I've been doing this for about 6 to 7 months where I muted every single person on Instagram. I'm sorry if you're my friend and listening to this, I've muted you. But I still watch people's story, not like on a regular basis. When I am on Instagram, I still watch stories. I'm not like completely cut off from the world. But at the same time, I don't think we need to keep up with every single person in our lives every single day. It's so easy to get caught up in what others are doing, right? So it's whether it's through social media or looking at someone else's career. I've heard so many people say that they don't like being on LinkedIn. It's because you follow people who only update things when things are happening. For example, most people on LinkedIn only talk about their accomplishments, by which I mean they only talk about, hey, look, I got the certification. Hey, look, I got this job. Hey, look, I got engaged. Like, there are so many other things that so many other creators and people talk about that you might just not be following. So the second thing is set a time limit for comparison, because we all do it. So rather than avoiding it altogether, like I said, I was off of Instagram for a week, and then I was like, I don't want to be cut off from the world though, because that's become like the media source to get news, for entertainment, for everything. So rather than avoiding it altogether, set a specific time limit to engage in comparison. So maybe it's 30 minutes a day, or you split that into 10 minutes, whatever works for you. After that, switch your focus back on what you're doing, because this way you'll still be aware of trends and what's going on, but you won't let comparison steal your time or your peace. It's just about making sure you acknowledge everything without letting it control your mindset. Third thing is, this is something I did this for about 2 weeks. When I moved to Boston, I did have my things here. I'd actually never talked about this with anybody, so if my mom is listening to this, I never told you this. I looked for things that my mind would just naturally gravitate towards. So take a moment to notice what you're naturally curious about. Think about the things you cannot help but research, read about, or experiment with. These little signals are telling you what your brain is wired to enjoy. It's not random. Your interests and instincts are often the best compass to guide you toward the life you want. When you start prioritizing things that make you feel like your life has a little bit of purpose, because if you've not checked out my YouTube video, I talked about what I think about purpose. I don't think that purpose is about just yourself. It's also about how is this helping someone else? So even if they don't immediately seem profitable or impressive to others, if they make you feel like I'm on the right track, that's what you need to focus on. The fourth thing is my favorite, deadlines, because they help you prioritize. Sometimes the issue isn't that we don't know what we want, it's that we don't make time for it. So when you set deadlines, it can help force you to prioritize what matters. I told myself that after I moved to Boston, I cannot record the Pivot to Balance podcast because I'm job hunting and have a couple different things going on the side, that I will start it in October. But then I was like, you know what? If I don't do it now, I'm just never going to do it. I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot that I've learned that I want to share and help people along the way. So I preponed it. So the Pivot to Balance is back on track. We're doing episodes every week. So give yourself hard deadlines for things you've been putting off. Not in a stressful way. Like, we're all about balance here. We're not talking about stressful ways. But in a way that puts what's most important front and center. Because when you add a sense of urgency, that can break you out of a cycle of procrastination and overthinking. So when you think about where you're running, it's easy to get distracted by what society or others expect, right? But it comes down to this. What do you really want? And why do you want it? What makes your life feel full and meaningful, even if no one else sees it? I even talked about this in one of my TikTok videos, where what would I do if I didn't know nobody was watching? Like if I felt like nobody was watching. So stop sacrificing what really matters to you, because why do you have to worry so much about what other people are thinking? Don't waste time chasing things that just look good on the surface but make you feel like shit all the time. Instead, take action toward the things that make you, or sort of align with who you want to be as a person, or who you actually are. And just remember, the only person you need to answer is to yourself. And this is all like a diary. I'm telling these things to myself as well. I'm not like a perfect person. So take a good hard look at what you're running towards. Are you chasing what you really want, or are you sprinting toward someone else's version of success? That was, as you can see, was very heavy, and I just wanted to get that off of my chest. That's all for today's episode. So go grab a cup of lemon water. Just think about it. Sit with this. Go sign up to my newsletter on anushakanan.com/email list, because I talk about stuff like this on a weekly basis. And I also have an audio feature there, so you don't really have to read the newsletter if you don't want to. But yeah, take care of yourselves. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.